Coco Hekmatyar, a young arms dealer who is about to launch a huge missile rocket against her enemy. Her team is waiting for the launch. She then says, "Ready," and launches the rocket. Now, they all watch as it flies to strike the enemy. Meanwhile, an orphan named Jonah is watching a fighter jet loaded with bombs. He recalls how one of these jets killed his parents, and how much he hates people who use weapons to kill others. Next day, same woman is taking orphan boy somewhere, and he thinks how he ended up with an arms dealer. She says, "I have 8 people working with me, you're number 9. She then turns around and says, "Take this." 2 guys watch them. As boy takes it, she says, "We'll test your skills first." She then moves to open a door and bangs into a man. Everyone looks at her without uttering a word. She says, "This boy is Jonah, our new member," then claps her hands saying, "Now get back to work." She asks Jonah, "Will you help?" He says, "Just tell whom to shoot." While Tojo shares information, their container is held in port. She claps saying, "Everyone get ready to bring it back." Now we see a man on call saying those weapons shouldn't go to military hands or you'll regret it. Coco says, "No you will," then asks Jonah, "How are you feeling?" as they're going in car to free her container. Jonah says, "I feel nothing," and she says, "That's so cold." Now as he's preparing for flight, she asks with serious gaze, "You hate weapons, don't you? You don't even want to answer." He says, "I only hate talks." She says, "You'll have to with me." He asks, "How do you ordinarily treat people who tail you?" She says, "Shoot first, ask never." And he starts firing on a car which was following them. After that, another car follows them and he fires again. Coco says, "Say something before you start shooting. You startled the hell out of me." A man is watching all this through CCTV cameras. He tells someone and calls stop Coco anyhow from reaching to port and getting her container. It has upgraded weapons. Now we see Coco's member is firing a van following Coco. She says, "That's one tough van." She gets down to threaten Lame, "Get me closer to van." While Jonah tells Coco, "Watch out, left lane." She says, "New enemy." As the vehicle comes closer to their car, they hit her car so she hits back. They provoke her, "Let's cruise over to the port, sweetie." She says, "You jerks," and speeds up her car. While Lame is firing on truck as he takes the car closer, and Valmet jumps at top of truck. Then she enters in and before enemy could realize, she attacks them. Back to Coco, she praises Jonah for doing great work. But just then man following them is about to attack. Taking out his anti-tank missile, he says, "Time to go to hell." Jonah prepares a bomb and alerts Coco. He says, "Head down," as the guy targets them. Just as he shoots the missile, Jonah throws the bomb to counter. As it blasts, it changes trajectory of missile which hits different car. A toy comes flying towards Jonah, who grabs it and laughs. Coco hears laughter and says they'll reload in 20 seconds. An enemy keeps firing. Jonah says they won't get second shot of missile as he fires. The man gets ready for another missile shot, but Jonah fires him, making him trigger missile on his vehicle. Guy watching this asks his remaining people to pull back. Coco thumbs shake Jonah. Next they've reached to the port and door opens. She says, "Follow me," Jonah, who asks why you sell weapons. She then shows him the way, saying, "For world peace." At night, Jonah sleeps in the corner, while Coco is on bed. Jonah feels something and ready to fire, and Guy stops him. He says, "Come down, it's your shift," then walks away. Lame looks at time when Jonah comes and asks a question. As they walk, Lame says, "You want to know why a skilled man like me is with Coco? Because it's fun." While Coco is sleepwalking and falls on Valmet. As Lame continues, they see Coco sleepwalking and shows her way. Next morning, she tells everyone it's an emergency. She shows everyone that enemy arms dealer truck has entered in country with supplies. She then starts rolling with frustration. "I'm in deep shit," then gets up saying, "We need to prevent this delivery." She says Tojo and Valmet will negotiate with Defense Ministry. Wiley and R stay here and act as relay between me and HQ. Jonah with me, Lame, Hugo, and let's get your weapons. Everyone gets up and Coco speaks in call case orange. Now head of enemy arms dealer Koskin dealing with someone. While in car, Valmet discusses Koskin with Toji, who tells he's independent arms dealer and is very powerful. Now Coco hand weapon to Jonah and talks with others. Just then others appear and she signals them. One asks what she said. Hugo says she told the hunt as he speeds up the car. Others smiles creepily, saying, "Been a while since last time." While Coco says, "This time act like my brother, not soldier." Next Coco meets to Koskin, who says, "Come take a seat." She says, "This is my card, I'm arms dealer Coco." Then as they enter, Koskin says, "This is your brother." Now he sit with them, saying, "I've good idea why you're here." While Tojo is talking with Colonel to cancel deal with Koskin. Coco calls Tojo saying time to play a card. She then tells Koskin to cancel the deal himself, but he replies that isn't nice of her. She says, "Refusing me, you'll have to pay for it." This angers him and he smashes a coffee jug over her head. She says stop as Jonah is ready to shoot. Koskin takes the weapon and empties it. He put it aside, saying, "You don't have to act like man." She is bleeding but doesn't say a single word. He says, "I have snipers here, so don't dare to touch me." Jonah watches in confusion, but then Coco winks at him. Afterwards she looks at time. Koskin says, "Just go home already." But she says, "Take a good look at my eyes. I'll give you a hint. Try calling your snipers now," and as he calls them, her teammates has already killed them. Koskin is devastated when her co-mates receive instead of his snipers. White Coco tells one of her teammates, "Well done." done, and he replies time to pull back, we're done with him. She then tells him now talk and call and cancel the deal. Then Tojo informs Coco deal is being cancelled, as Koskin cuts his sign after Koskin cancels deal, and then hands paper back to a woman. Back to Coco, she signals to fire saying bam, and Jonah fires at Koskin, sending him into hell in moments. He then checks her saying she'll bleeding. She gets up and hugs him from back. Now after finishing their mission, everyone packs and walks out from their respective places. Jonah carries Coco as she's injured. Later at night, Jonah is making some omelet. When Lame asks how did mission go, he says I let her get hurt. Lame says don't worry much. In dinner table, Coco says we all are your family now, Jonah. They all says we're already starving, and Jonah watches them holding Pam. Now they eat and say it's horrible while Jonah eats silently. Next day we see a car along with 2 trucks. Inside car, Coco seems pissed as her phone doesn't have signal. She can't contact Tojo. The truck contains some supplies she's gonna deliver, while Jonah is sitting at top of truck. Just then anti-tank missile appear and blasts near truck. A guy says is this a trap, as everyone loses balance. They then stop. Coco runs toward cliff and says what the hell. Lame says we're on battlefield, they're fighting over pipeline. She then takes a look through binoculars as Lame says you can see everything is destroyed in this area, while some local troops are observing them from far. They then tell them to hands up, and she says we're not enemies, though not friends either. Afterwards we see her shaking hands with Major Polluck. He says sorry for inconvenience caused by his subordinates. They sit together and he says thanks for bringing weapons, and offers her cola. As she opens it, she thinks this is a war zone right now, he will order more weapons. Just as she thought, he says I want to place more orders. A woman appears saying long time no see Coco. Coco gets up saying Mildred. Mildred pampers her saying you seem fine. British CCAT Mr. Curry appears saying oh who's here Coco, while Mildred goes to Jonah saying so you're newbie, and laughs. Back to Coco, she asks what you bought from Curry. Curry says I supplied missiles. Now Coco says the contract is fulfilled, we'll leave. Major says wait, I want field radars. Curry says I don't have them. Coco also says same. Curry says I know you're lying, your daughter of shipping magnate who sells high level weapon. She thinks is he trying to push me into this. She says no I don't have, and start acting weird. Major calls soldiers, leading to standoff between them and Coco's team. She then asks to Major why he wants to hide battle over pipeline. His men are killing everyone escaping into the mountains. He laughs this off and again requests her for radars and walks away. Curry says Major is hard to deal with. Now as she walks with her team, she tells everyone in sign language I'll pretend I accepted contact, we're getting out of here. She says he'll pay us if he gets victory, but I'll never do a business on credit. Night falls. On other side, Valmet says we wouldn't have left Coco. Tojo says don't worry, we will find her tomorrow. As she's lying under roofless home, she says it's been well since I slept under open sky. Next morning when Coco is leaving, Major says my topman will escort you to make it over the pass safely. She thinks leash for a dog. He says don't run away, pretending you accepted my offer, as she walks away from there. Now as she drives away, one of topmen start insulting arms dealers, saying all you do is pour oil into the fire. She says I am a merchant and take care of my goods, unlike you who's just a dog of Major, which pisses him. Now they stop and come out. She asks Jonah to call Tojo. Just then helicopter appears and she says they're Russian Heinz. They all run as she says everyone take cover. Heinz are firing from the sky. As she watches, then she spots a guy. They crawl towards him. Seeing these Heinz, she suggests the man to cover himself. Heinz have sensors and we are huge blobs to their scream, and Heinz start firing, but suddenly they start leaving. As Heinz leaves, she says that was close, while man thinks this bitch was smiling all along. Now he pushes her saying get lost lucky girl. As they are back, Jonah asks why you aren't selling weapons. She says my gut says war will end in 2 days, also they don't have much money left for supplies, it's no use. He asks you trust your gut. She says yes, that's what kept us all alive now. Meanwhile, Mildred kills one soldier, another who tries to fire at their boss get killed by her co-mate. Curry says they were only way to go over the pass. She says they were pissing me off. He then says give me a map, I'll find the way. On other side, Valmet is on treetop. Coco and Valmet jumps to attack one. Then she approaches Coco, who hugs her. She says this feels great. She then commands tie them up, gag him too. Then she says let's get going. Now we see abandoned factory. Leham is checking and suddenly turned to attack with his weapon, but stops as he sees this guy as CCAT member Lou. He tells everyone CCAT people has invited us in. Inside, Coco sit with Curry's saying what a surprise meeting, while he seems bit pissy. Mildred says long time no see, and Valmet says oh. She stares her as Mildred says I want to know more about you. I want to test your combat skills. Valmet says I don't care. Mildred says can I test her boss? He says shut up as he's pissed. He tells Coco this dumb girl Mildred killed escorts. Coco says we just bound our escorts and left them. Curry says now because of Mildred they might be after us. Coco thinks something and says Valmet go scout outside with Mildred, but outside they both take out out weapon to test each other first. Valmet says, "You wanna test me, huh?" Mildred moves to attack. Valmet keeps dodging and then attack her back, but Mildred won't stop and attacks as if she wanna end her. Then she says, "You didn't get a single scratch." She gets mad, throws a knife, but Valmet dodges again. They both approaches each other. Valmet attacks her, making her fall. Valmet then suggests her not to carry so many knives. She takes out one on Tree, saying knives get in way of your movements. Meanwhile, Major is telling his soldiers to capture Coco and Curry. Back to Mildred and Valmet as they're returning back. Valmet asks, "Why you wanna be like me?" Mildred says, "You're elite soldier, I wanna be like you." Valmet says, "I don't want you go through same as I did." Mildred replies, "I have nothing to lose. Fighters like us are hollow. If I become like you, it'll fill void." She then runs, saying, "I will practice and challenge you again." Back to factory, Coco says, "Everyone prepare for battle." She tells Curry that we'll go ahead and clear the path. Curry says, "Soldiers have surrounded us, I'll remember your help." Now they stand outside, while soldiers are ready to shoot. Just then she says, "Everyone drop your weapons." Mildred laughs and Curry is shocked. What? Coco's team is confused. She says, "Remove the magazines and fold the stock." They all follows her order and then hands up. She tells soldiers one team with weapons are inside. Soldiers run inside while they all stand there. Curry angers fucking Vixen and then gets ready with weapons along with others. Then he fires as soldiers are there. Outside, earlier soldier says to Coco, "Now run, you lucky girl," and she runs with her whole team to escape the killing field. Jonah laughs but then stops as Coco looks at him. They all run while Curry and his guys are dealing with soldiers. Lame asks, "How are you feeling, Jonah?" He says, "First time I haven't fired a single bullet." Coco says, "Prepare to fire until your barrel starts glowing next time." She then speeds up and jumps as Jonah watches her. Back to Major, he gets a news that Coco and her team escaped, and then looks up saying, "Coco, what a unpredictable wench." Now we see the airport. Coco takes her passport to fly and sees Curry, saying, "We made it." Then she walks toward her team. In next scene, a woman says this work is fun, as we see a man being tormented by her. Guy named Shisho says just ask him how he did big robberies. She ties him tightly and asks, "Tell us," with crazy eyes. But he says, "You're a pathetic shit, just vanish." She smiles as she has already set up things for him. Man gives him more pain. Chimatsu wear her hat, saying, "You'll feel all bullets. Every second the device will make sound." They then said it. Guy says, "You assholes," while they say bye. He cries, "Stop it," but bullet already start firing. As they both walk away, she asks, "What we gonna do next?" Shisho replies, "We'll make more money as assassins." In next scene, Coco is telling Jonah, "You need to learn a lot," as he's doing his homework and yawning. She says, "Other people in my team are already brilliant, and to become better you need to do study part." They give him multiplication. He answers more or less than 300. Coco says it doesn't work like that in maths, while Tojo is at complete shock. They recall time while looking at plane. Valmet asks him about number of wheels in it. He replies, "A lot," shocking everyone. Now they both laugh. She then shows in her laptop the list of assassins HQ is alerting about. Well, that's pointless because this city is really safe, and if anything happens you guys will protect me. She opens profile of them and says they're very tough and dangerous while fighting. Just then others appear. Valmet says, "Coco, let's go out." She tells Jonah don't forget to thank Tojo after he's done teaching. Jonah goes washroom. He isn't back. Tojo checks and sees he's gone. Now we see both the assassins again. They're walking while they talk with each other. Just then Chimatsu spots Jonah and says he's cute. Shisho pulls her away, saying don't get distracted. Now they both walk away while Jonah watches them. Meanwhile, Coco is looking at an expensive watch at store. Valmet sees Coco is interested in it and says, "I'll buy for you." Coco says, "Really?" and Valmet says, "You just wait here." Just then Chimatsu grabs her hand, saying, "You're the one sells gun." Valmet sees that as Coco tells her to leave her. Valmet comes out with weapon ready to fire. Shisho takes out his weapon. Jonah jumps from a building and firing starts. Jonah fires at Shisho, who takes cover. Valmet is hiding as she cries out Coco, while Chimatsu fires at her. Jonah is protecting Coco. Chimatsu keep firing non-stop. Shisho does the same. Chimatsu says, "I'll kill this one-eyed bitch." As she loads again, she recalls that cute kid came in between. Is he protecting arms dealer? This pissed me more. Shisho asks Coco to come out. Now as he loads again, Coco kisses Jonah. He says, "Why you laugh at face of danger?" Recalling when she stopped him from firing and winked with smile. Even when the Russian Hinds were firing, she smiled as he watches her. Now he asks her, "What's wrong with you?" She says nothing. She then gets up and says, "Now counter them." He stands up and starts firing. She takes cover as Jonah fires, while Shisho keeps firing like fun. Chimatsu takes out her more powerful weapon. Just then police appear and she fires at their car. Jonah and Coco watches. He says, "Keep your head down," while Shisho fires at policeman who tries to come and stop him. Now Chimatsu takes out her new weapon and starts firing at Valmet, who stops and fires back, hurting Shisho. He counters, saying it fucking hurts, but she's covering herself. Now Coco says, "Valmet come," and Jonah keeps firing. Shisho get more mad and fires. Valmet get hurt and realizes shield isn't bulletproof. She leaves it and jumps. Coco asks, "Are you okay?" Lahem watches all this as he's trying to contact everyone and is getting ready with his weapon. Back to Valmet, she says, "I won't be much use this time." Jonah looks at her situation. Coco says, "Don't worry, other will come soon." But Jonah runs towards them while he fires. He is unstoppable and Shisho says, "Great, come here." And about to fire, Chimatsu Chimatsu stops him. A clipper is thrown and Jonah falls as it grabs his leg, and then get dragged. Lehem says, "Caught you, Jonah." He asks, "What are you doing, Lehem?" He says, "Chill," and tells that you could have gotten them at the cost of your own life. Lehem says, "Let go idea that you're a soldier, get rid of your death wish and replace it with training. Just learn new skills from us but don't get too close to us." While Chimatsu spots police snipers and tells Shisho, who shoots them. Now Lehem gives calling device to Jonah saying, "Protect Coco and run," as Coco bring injured Valmet. Then Jonah says, "Coco, don't let go my hand." He holds her hand and signals Lehem, while Lehem nods as he's ready to fire. He then starts firing and Jonah runs, taking Coco away. Lehem keeps firing but Chimatsu is taking cover. Shisho is so mad as he continues firing. He says, "Go and die, f***er." Lehem says, "You're so heated you can't even think, just keep firing." Chimatsu says, "Can you stop? Coco girl has gotten away." He's out of bullets so he throws away as she says, "Let's run." They both run as they make better plan to target Coco. As they reach near their car they get inside and drive away. While Lehem takes Valmet and says, "We need to separate both of them, then we can deal." Just then their team comes in car. They take Valmet inside while Lehem tells plans. He tells them to check the location of Coco. As they check, she's headed towards beach. They drives towards beach, while Jonah keeps running, taking Coco with him. She says assassins fires indiscriminately as the rumor says. He replies, if their job is to kill then of course they will use weapon. Even peaceful people can go crazy having weapons in their hands. Weapons have sort of demonic powers. She smiles and says, "I'm happy you shared what you're thinking. First time I heard you talking." While the guys are looking for Coco and Jonah. Now we see Shisho, who says, "Chimatsu, time to have fun, will not let go our target." Next in the past we see a beautiful hotel. Inside an opera performance is taking place. Chimatsu is watching it with her family, and it is very crowded, as opera who sings has very beautiful voice. She looks at the judges and is about to finish singing. Just then someone points the weapon and fires at her. People are scared and it's Shisho who says her voice wasn't good enough. He then takes out his another weapon and starts firing, leaving none of the people. Chimatsu's mom covers her and saves her. Shisho fires non-stop and after that kisses the cross saying amen. Just then someone fires him from behind. He looks back saying, "The f*** you live." It's Chimatsu who fired at him. He walks towards her and holding her face he kisses her. Back to the present, Jonah is still running, taking Coco. Her team members are in car to find Coco. Just when they spot her, Valmet says we'll pick them but then sees assassins also appears. R says he got a powerful weapon as Shisho smiles. Now they start firing. Mao says fire at tire R. Firing is exchanged between both parties. Valmet fires from inside the car. R says to Coco, "Keep running, princess." Mao sees a powerful weapon inside their car. Shisho says it's time for final act. Mao tells Coco they've got M2. Coco says, "Are they completely mad?" Chimatsu says it's shame we have to shoot the cute boy. R says here they come and they're ready to shoot. As assassins chases them, Coco keeps running and says they are catching up. Non-stop firing keeps going on both sides. Chimatsu speeds up and as they're closer, the weapon is ready to fire. Jonah pushes Coco and jumps down. The moment it starts firing, destroying their vehicle. They head down but lose their control. Car get hit to the side pole. Firing keeps going on. Assassins stop car, it gets heated and catches fire so they run. Now Jonah comes out of water with Coco as they jump that time. He takes out his weapon and stops Coco. He tries to check but they fires at him. Shisho says that shithead brat made it means Coco is alive. He fires, making Chimatsu's hat fly away. She says, "Master, I have bad feeling, let's withdraw." He says, "Shut up," and he runs to fire. He got targeted. Chimatsu cries master and is shocked that Sniper did it. He goes down on his knees, while Sniper says now go for head. He fires again and Shisho falls down. Chimatsu cries out with shock and is gone mad. Jonah watches her as she cries, "You can't just mess up my life then leave me alone." Now Lame tells the snipers to not fire at the girl. They say okay. Chimatsu cries in pain, "I'll not leave you, Coco," as she moves towards Shisho. Coco says what a threat in heat of battle. She comes out and Cut says she's just a girl. Coco says she's in your sight. Yugo says we can't fire at her, we'll fire at her weapon instead. And Cuts fires, she falls down, she takes her another weapon and looks at them. She holds her master's cross, and as they are firing, she runs to attack them. She jumps and starts firing. Lehem says she's fast. She then runs in front of a truck and escapes from there. Lehem is mad, while she kisses the cross inside truck saying goodbye master. They all watch her escaping. She lies down as tears keep falling from her eyes. Now two cars appear there, one of which is police car. A guy comes out saying, "Coco, you're under arrest. I saw a whole fight." Coco says you don't look like a policeman. Jonah asks what now, Coco. This pisses guy who says I'll decide, kicking him in water. He tells her to tell her man to pull back and she signals them. He says now come with me at police station. Now we see the police station and the guy is talking with policeman who asks who are you. He throws his ID and police officer says CIA from America. He says you can call me Scarecrow. Hand me Coco and footage of fight. Police says what are you referring to? While in police commander's room, Coco says thanks for changing clothes and shower. Police commander says you went too far. Showing her Scarecrow's bio, he says some people are behind you. She says a CIA agent, he's trying to make some money on side. Commander says I see, but it'll be hard to cover this one fight. She gets up and about to leave. He says your men will be confused confined to hotel guarded by police. She says you wound me, clean the mess soon, and open the door to leave. He says give my regards to your father as she closes door. While Scarecrow is asking for footage, man says behave, I'll fire. After that he sees him texting to make Coco leave from back door. He runs to stop her and calls her name. She looks at him. He says bitch take me seriously and punches her. They grabs him. She walks toward him saying I don't have time for maggots, and then walks away. He says so much arrogance, I'll hunt you down. She walks out saying find a woman to team up, then recalls Chimatsu's word I'll hunt you down. While her men are getting confined to hotel room, she's in danger. Just then she spots Jonah, who jumps to walk towards her. She cries Jonah. He asks what happened to you. She says nothing. She cleans her nose. He says they didn't confine me like others, so I came for you. She hugs him saying let's go home. Now we see a beautiful city view at night. Jonah and Coco are standing outside as they talk. She says you're kind Jonah, your bullets hold both harsh coldness and kindness. Jonah looks at her saying oh. She then hugs him, pampering him, then says kindness is weakness, it will delay trigger by a moment. World doesn't treat kindness kindly. Now they both walk towards home and she asks who you think has most guns. He says army. She replies no, 60% of all guns worldwide are in civilian hands, 37% army, and rest belong to police. You said even peaceful people given a gun can go crazy. Just where are those peaceful people in this world's guns are always within arm's reach. Now as they walk she says I don't want to die. He replies then stop looking into an assassin's barrel. Now 3 days have passed. Coco's group is still confined inside a hotel room. Chimatsu climbs up at the terrace. Just as she takes out gun, Coco says don't move. The moment you aim to fire me you die. She says oh so you have sniper here, and Laham is ready as she is his target. So she give up and then Coco jumps down. She asks Chimatsu I saw that day when you were firing. Why don't you wear undergarment? She says you piss me off, then replies my boss house was across river. My clothes used to get wet below waist, so one day I secretly removed it. And I killed more people than my master. Coco laughs saying so this is your reason, what about now? Chimatsu says I have them on. Now she says something and Chimatsu says you're scared bitch. Coco then says I've started liking you, can I feed and pet you? Chimatsu refuses and takes out weapon to shoot, but get hit before she could do anything. She comes down on knees and about to fall, but Coco hold her and then let her fall down, looks at her with cold eyes. Lying down there she then looks at Coco and calls her monster. While Lamb looks back as Lutz appear. He says I know it is ugly, but I've lost my comrades against soldier like that cute girl. While Coco closes her eyes saying this all went south because of you. Jonah was already there from beginning to protect Coco. In next scene we see a target, someone is firing at it. It was shot by Lutz and then he says it's dead accurate. Now we see ship, they're going somewhere. Coco appears there along with Valmet. Jonah asks why are you wearing hat? She replies to protect my beautiful skin from scorching sun rays. Valmet says Coco it's a call for you. Coco speaks in call, it's from her brother. Jonah looks at her then watch others. Just then Coco get freaked out by knowing that her brother is coming to meet her and she cuts phone saying okay see ya. She tells Valmet, who gets shocked as well. Everyone wonders what's going on. She calls Wiley take Jonah down and hide him. He responds okay. He then takes Jonah, who asks is something wrong. Wiley says come in, there is nothing to worry, it's your study time. Meanwhile we see another ship is approaching Coco's ship, which is carrying huge load of supplies to somewhere. A man enters in her ship along with guards. It's a hot guy and is Coco's big brother. Coco says hello Casper. He says hi sister as he walks towards her and they look at huge shipment she's going to parcel soon. She asks why are you here? He says CIA Scarecrow is after you. He scares crows from field of money. He's got talent for milking situations for money. He's a pain and asks be careful. Meanwhile Wiley is teaching Jonah, giving history lessons. After that he prepares coffee and says I'll tell you about a Chinese legend who told about pike and shield. Jonah listens him carefully. He holds pencil saying pike can peace and shield can protect. Jonah says oh this thing is interesting to me. While container is placed, Coco says you're warning me from Chinese. He says yeah, if we're merchants they're bad merchants. Coco looks at him and says so they could be more like gutter rats. He then says can I use washroom? She says why are you asking me? Now Wiley says you don't like maths right. Jonah gets up saying I'll go washroom and walks toward there. Wiley is waiting outside when Casper appears greeting him. He walks toward washroom and entering and he peeks at Jonah. Just then Jonah tries to attack him but stopped by a guard. He washes his hands as he says I'm glad you're doing fine. His guard is holding Jonah tightly. He cries with anger let go Chiquita. Holding his hand she bends knife and throws away. Casper says we're meeting after 3 months Jonah. While Wiley is holding him and Jonah recalls time. At West Asian base Jonah walks to share food with other orphans and they all seem happy. Now we see some packets on table and a deputy commander of base is talking with an arms dealer named Yusuf, who then finalizes the deal and gets up. Now we see kids are eating while Jonah watches. Guards walk towards them. Jonah hears footsteps. He tells kids to hide the food. Then they attend General and Yusuf is also there. 2 guards walk toward the kids. Jonah looks at Yusuf's cold eyes and realizes that something is wrong here. He says I'll also come but gets a punch and falls. They take away 2 kids with them. Marka cries help but Jonah can't. Next day they take away her corpse. Jonah cries along with another kid. He realized they took her to the old minefield, made her walk leading explosion. He then open his teary eyes and tell kid to hide. Later guard comes while he ties weapon on him. Guard sees there. Jonah gets ready, and as he enters, Jonah fires, making him fall down. They hears firing. Guards are on alert and contact. In General's room he gets up as he talks with guards. Jonah keeps firing at whoever come. The guards get shot and falls back. Guards keep firing but misses shot. Commander is holding his weapon and hiding. Some are waiting. Jonah sees the path and runs to fire at them. All we see bullets. A guard attacks but Jonah runs to attack back and finishes him there. Commander tries to contact guards. Yusuf says hey, but Commander's gone by now. He is scared. Jonah appears there with weapon. He says leave me, and opens a suitcase full of cash and offers him. He says spare me. Jonah stares and fires, and next moment he is lying lifeless on ground. Jonah stands there. He holds his gun as he feels someone's presence. There he's alert. Gas grenade is thrown there. Jonah can't see enemy, but he is alert. Someone attack but Jonah dodges. They grab his hand and make him stop completely. Then look at him. He tries to get away but couldn't. Other guards are holding weapons. A helicopter appears. Jonah looks at it as it lands. The guy come out saying I'm Casper. Jonah don't want to talk with him. Casper asks why your name is not in list of kids who are in this base. What's your name? But then suddenly he looks at him. As he listens, you killed everyone just to take revenge for a girl. You are pathetic. Realizing what he did, he feels bad. He then says I'll see what can be done to other kids. Jonah look at him as he continues I might end them. Anyways, they're of no use to me. He's devastated as Casper looks at him and he's losing his mind. He then looks at Casper as he says bye, I'm leaving. Jonah says leave kids but is stopped. Casper don't listen and walks. Jonah runs but next he's in room and is locked in. At present Coco is mad at her brother saying you can't treat Jonah bad. On the other side Chiquita says Jonah is tough guy. He says I'll not forget what you did. Now Casper says bye as they see them leave. Jonah says he kept me locked that time. Coco feels bad. He says what I did was terrible too. While the Casper's ship sails away, Coco says Jonah I trust you will get better in life. Now as ship sails he is checking his weapon to use. After that guy says you've class but he walks away. Now Coco comes to talk with Valmet who's lost, so Coco walks away. While guys are talking Jonah again skip classes. Next Wiley says I'm amazed thanks. Coco says Hugh liked our new car, it's really cool, and hands keys. She then says you're amazing at driving, keep it up. Next we see Valmet is saying we're going to Africa. She lost her eye there, many bad things happen. She says we should be careful after reaching there. Then runs as she has some work. While Jonah is walking at stairs and reaches at top. He looks down from there and watches the scene. He says this is my secret spot and recalls the day when Casper comes to meet him after keeping him locked for long. He listens Casper who says I'm indirect reason. Your parents are dead. Jonah bites him saying you monster. He says I sold weapons to people who killed them. Jonah cries out he feels helpless. He says I can spare kids though if we make a deal. Are you ready? Jonah says I'll do anything you want. Chiquita smiles as he says you have to work as bodyguard of my sister. Holding his hand he says we will make this deal and I promise you those kids will live a good life. After a few days we see a city where Coco meets and greets the Jonah for the first time. He is cold look and tells his name I am Jonah. Coco says welcome to my team. At present they're sailing. Coco alerts everyone that enemy is here. They walk towards top with the weapons. Leham is discussing the plan with Coco who says we'll not let enemy to attack us. One tells enemy is coming from behind while others keep their eye and surrounding to see movement. Coco is in call just then she look forward. Enemy says you guys are surrounded. Coco cries out you just made the worst decision of your lives. She then says Valmet I'm counting on you. Enemy boat speeds up to come closer to their ship to attack. An helicopter also appear from the top ready to fire on them. Jonah is waiting with weapon and bends to see enemy boat coming with speed. Coco is in call while she keeps watch and then says we are not gonna let them enter in our ship and commands them to hit the enemy. A helicopter comes with speed towards their ship to attack. It is ready to fire just then Mal hiding under cover removes it. Coco cries out loudly now fire at them. Mal says okay Roger and starts firing at helicopter non-stop. He keeps doing that until it got many holes and tries to leave. Mal keeps firing. Men in one of boats are pissed seeing this. Wiley triggers the remote making blast. Now second boat comes and watches man with weapon so he says let's retreat but it's already late as guy fires and blasts their boat in an instant. While Jonah bends to check the things. He gets up and about to fire at soldier boy trying to climb up, but then he stops as he looks at the boy's expression who is sweating out of fear. While others keep firing on the boat so no enemy remains. Coco watches helicopter trying to invade from other side only to get bullets from the Leham who continuously keeps firing making holes to the point it couldn't handle and blast. After fight Jonah is with enemy boy. Everyone looks at them with questioning eyes. He says I saved him. They can't stop themselves and laugh. They then free him and Coco asks boy are you running or not? He's confused so she scares him and he jumps out of ship. They all watch him and Coco throws a life support for him. As she watches him leave she says I am not not that merciless. Time passes and it's already sunset. Next at Abu Dhabi airport, a man takes cigar which a girl lits. Scarecrow talks with him saying, Chan, I'm here for some answers I want from you. General listens him as woman stands there. He says, tell me everything about Casper Hekmatyar. General looks at him with cold look as he says, what do you think, General? I will not let you leave without getting answers. General replies, you're not getting any information from me. While the woman listened to them carefully, Scarecrow says, don't act smart, but they seem unbothered. Just then he gets a call. He says, I'm heading out, my guard is here, don't try to leave or do anything. Lady watches him and remembers something. She walks towards door but is stopped. She distracts the guard and kicks him, followed by a punch, which makes him fall. General's calm as the guys is beaten by the lady with cold look with no mercy. Scarecrow's in call. General says, stop, Karen, so she gets up and looks at him. He says, you've got a little something on your face, Karen. While Scarecrow drinks and sees they are already leaving, he spits out coffee as both of them walks away freely. He runs to check the guard who is lying all knocked out. While it's departure time, so they walk towards their flight. General says our upcoming mission must succeed. Now we see Casper who's smiling seeing out. Next at Marchin, when man named Makona knocks at door. Inside, Minami is packing for her hiking. While a butterfly is flying in her room, she sings a song how much she loves butterflies and she's gonna watch some rare one during hike. Makona comes in and says she can't go and hike, she has to meet Coco tomorrow. She says, sorry, I can't cancel my plan, and before he could say anything to her, he sees her teary eyes. She jumps on bed and starts acting like a kid, shocking him. She starts rolling, which pisses him now, so she cries more. Meanwhile, Valmet is talking with Coco, and Jonah eats his food while he listens them. Coco tells him we'll meet a doctor who has strange obsession with the butterflies. She's specialized in robotics and is currently in South Africa. Her name is Minami. While Minami tells how badly she's concerned about butterflies' extinction as she's holding her mechanically created one. Makona says there is the snow this year. She happily tells I can still find them. This is a research from Doctor how to find butterflies in snow. Next we see city view and Valmet is exercising on terrace. She keeps doing exercise and all sweaty. She goes faster with push-ups as she keeps murmuring Africa, Africa, Africa. She says I need to be more strong so nothing bad happen again. Seems like she has some past trauma of Africa. Just then Jonah appears, so she gets up and stands there. She says let's do some knife practice, it's good exercise though knife isn't real. In next moment he attacks while she dodges and stops him. She then goes to attack him and moves towards his leg. She then moves to attack upper part and give him marks. Again she moved towards him to attack. After practice she holds him saying let's get shower now. Next day Coco is looking at time as she's waiting for Doctor. Her assistant comes to meet her as she greets. She then apologized. Doctor ran away for hiking so she didn't come. Coco says oh okay. They are in Weapon Expo where vehicles are on display. Women also tells about Chinese man's meeting with Doctor. She then gives a slip and Coco waves her as she leaves. She now comes to hug Jonah as he looks at the Weapons Expo building. They walk in and he asks her if all the weapons here are new. She says no, some are the upgraded ones to improve the pre-existing weapons. That's a trend now. While Jonah watches them carefully discussing weapons. Just then someone calls her out and she says oh Mr. Curry. They both have drinks and she says are you enjoying Expo? Many people are there. Coco hears someone calls her name. She realizes who's he as he says I'm Chan from Trading Company of China and shakes hand. She smiles saying nice to meet you. He says I have difficulty in standing, so can you join me in dinner tonight? Coco suddenly gets excited saying it'll be pleasure Mr. Chan. He says I have to talk about something, so see y'all later tonight. Laham appears and she says a Chinese man invited me in dinner tonight, let's see what he wants. She gives him slip saying check this out and he says okay. Next we see their car in full speed, they are going somewhere. Laham says look at this picture, you all weave to secure her, and if anyone comes in the way we will eliminate them. And they've deadly look. All Doctor is in snow trek saying we'll find butterflies soon. Now some is keeping eye on the Coco's squad who has just reached here. It's Karen along with her goons. She walks down and her goons run forward as she has decided to end Coco's squad. As Jonah walks forward he feels someone's presence there. He alerts others that someone is here. Valmet laughs, you guys must take training from Jonah now. Then they all walk towards the mountaintop to find Doctor. It's almost dark and covered with snow. Jonah thinks something, he looks back and says everyone stop, I have a plan. He holds his weapon firmly and cries Doctor. Goons hide and others run to take position. Karen says what they are trying to do. Jonah then starts firing, calling out Doctor loudly, where are you, come out. He keeps firing on snow while he calls her. Goons wonder what's next, what should they do? Jonah won't stop, seems like his plan is working as they're scared and one of them fires back revealing them. Laham says Jonah is smart as well. As goons are firing, Karen gets up, she seems to be pissed, but firing continues. She takes out her weapons from pockets and with cold look, she fires at one goon. She says you revealed us and last time also you messed up. Others are shocked and scared at same time. Valmet watches her and she recalls something. When she lost her one eye in past she saw similar someone. She remembers a man with same attitude and pose. Jonah looks at her as she stands there with evil smirk. She runs toward her and Laham says everyone cover Valmet, and others start firing at the enemy. While Valmet takes out her weapons as she kills enemy, we see Karen there. In restaurant, Coco says it looks yummy. Chan says the Chinese food here is good. She says yeah it is. And says Yugo I wish others were also here as they bring wine. He says she's abstaining from alcohol. Meanwhile, Scarecrow is pissed as his assistant bought just a pic of Coco. She says at least appreciate me a bit, I did my best as a spy, and throws food at him, saying as if you're some kind of expert. He removes it wondering what Coco and Chan talking about. Meanwhile, Valmet is chasing Karen. She keeps firing at her as Karen runs, but Valmet won't stop. She is firing back at her while running. Valmet won't stop. In next moment, she's standing in front of Karen blocking her. Valmet says your fighting style is unusual, I wanna talk about it. She says oh, and Valmet says yeah I won't leave you easily. While in camp far away, Moko tells Doctor that food will be ready soon. She says what's with the fireworks, I can't sleep in so much noise. Moko thinks there is battle out there and they're close. She lit her cigarette and says maybe it's Coco and her people, the echo of gun falls wherever that woman walks. He says maybe it's because the work she does. She laughs saying nothing good comes when you choose weapon. You're screwed, your tooth caught between two cogs. She then gets up saying the fireworks is still going on, then sees food and says it got overcooked. While it's too dark. Back to restaurant, Coco's having wine even when Yugo said no. She says to Chan that taste of wine is really good. He says I'm glad I was able to select something of your liking while Scarecrow is listening. The woman says Chan is a businessman and arms dealer too. He says yeah I'm amazed but I want to know how he's handling both. She wonders how. He says just listen then we'll get clue. Chan says I've heard a lot about you, how are you doing? Great with arms dealing. While they both are listening to them carefully, she says that's my business secret. He says let me help you to handle that. She says no. He stays calm even if her no pisses him. She drinks last drop and scene shifts to the fighting. Karen fires at her. Valmet tries to kick but she dodges her and kicks her gun. As she lands down, Valmet says your fighting style is similar to man who annihilated my squad. While others watch them standing face to face, Jonah watches enemy guards to observe their behavior. He crawls towards Laham and says that they aren't built for fighting in mountains. Laham asks so what's your plan, Jonah? He replies we gonna pretend dead and once they believe it, they'll come out. Laham smiles as he knows what's next. As planned, they believed and comes out only to be taken down by Laham, who says one moment of the weakness and you are dead, and takes down another. While in restaurant, Sko is on toilet seat. Scarecrow told her Coco will come there to contact her team. In next moment, Coco is there peeking. She jumps in and Sko says how can you enter in like this? Coco says I just want you to pass my message to your boss. Meanwhile, all guards are taken down and Karen realizes it. She takes out her weapons and fires, but Valmet keep dodging and reaches to her dodging again. And as Karen is tired of fighting, she comes from behind and attack her. She attacks back, her weapon lands away. Now as she stand there, Valmet attack again. She then says you weak, now answer me, who are you and what is your name? As she asks, she recalls past she was commanding officer and think what about me, I was weak too. Just then Laham taps her, what's wrong? Enemy is running and Karen is devastated. Valmet says what's now? Laham says we took down her army. She says I can't do anything with her, what a waste of time, you're in same position like I was once, well I'll leave now. Karen says I'm Lieutenant of Liberation Army and will kill you. And Valmet then walks away with Laham. Back to Scarecrow, he says why should I help Coco to escape? As Sko listens him after giving Coco's message, he says Bimbo, what idea Coco put inside your small head? She says think about it, if that Chan guy kills Coco you'll not get a cent out of her. Meanwhile, Coco asks him can I receive this call? He says yeah. As she says hello, he gets a call too. Her team tells her that they won the fight. All Chan got a news that they couldn't end Coco's squad. Now Coco seems chill while he smokes. She says now we're done, I'll take my leave. He says sure, it was pleasure to meet you. He already set snipers. Now he can't able to control and hits chair breaking his cane. Coco says didn't expect that soon as they walk towards exit. She then says I knew his plans already. Outside, Sko waves her and helicopter lands there to take them away safely. Chan is mad as he's told they escaped. Next morning, Doctor finds butterflies and chase after them. She gets one, she says it's not one I want. As she gets up saying let's go and gets startled by the Jonah. He is here with other members of Coco. She talks with him saying so you're new. Next day in Doctor's place, Coco gets mad as Doctor isn't in her room and runs away. She tells her assistant it's not your fault. Then she finds a note Doctor left for her. She stands there and reads. She then says I'll kick her if she does that again, and Marin apologizes. As going back, she says Africa is beyond me. Valmet says yeah, everything seem out of grasp. Meanwhile, Doctor is on beach enjoying her time. While plane flies away, she looks up and start playing again. Coco is standing with Mo in airport. She says we had to leave our car back in restaurant. We escaped through helicopter. Car was very expensive, not more than our lives. Could you please explain that to Wiley? He's depressed. While it beeped for Jonah, so he gets checked during security checkup. Coco comes there. They tell he got bullet in his butt cheek. And Coco explain everything. Now as they wait, man comments on Valmet. In next moment she grabs his face saying, what did you say? Coco says, stop, this is not place for that. Now they walk towards flight saying Valmet was too much. She says, I couldn't stop, he pissed me. They then say, Jonah, you should go for bullet removing surgery. He says needles are scary, making them fall with shock. Next, we see a large area of forest. At present, Lutz is walking cautiously. He then stops, checks his right and left, then moves. Few hours ago, they're in a training ground. They're shooting target to practice. Lutz says, I'll not practice with paintballs, which angers Valmet. Waham says, play capture the flag. Coco says, if you win I reward you, and he can't refuse. Waham says, okay, Lutz versus Jonah. At present, Lutz thinks he's not good in forest combat skills. While Jonah observes him, he thinks I'm so weak and recalls that day he couldn't able to fire at that girl with hitman. Before he had no problems in firing at hostage takers and terrorists, it was easy. But if girl like her shows up again, will I able to handle it? If someone like her tries to take life of boss lady, he's getting mad. And as he moves forward lost in thoughts and gets shot, it hurts him so badly that he gets mad. He cries Jonah. While Jonah runs, he fires paintballs, but Jonah escapes. He runs angrily after him while Jonah runs and laughs. Now he get attacked by the paintballs set as traps. He falls down on another trap and says oh no. Next we see him full of paint shots. Everyone laughs at him. He lost. Next, in apartment, Coco is getting ready and Valmet runs to freshen up. In a hall, a man announces about new weapons dealers gonna sell. Tojo says we've opponent. Actor turned dealer Miss Amelia Torohovsky. She spots Coco. She walks towards her and greets her. Coco says nice to meet you, miss. Amelia says I always wanted to meet you. Next we see Pawn. Coco silently walks with Jonah, who asks what's wrong. She says we have got competition, which is a woman. He asks what you gonna sell this time. She says brand new UAVs, which are remote control planes for scouting and combat purpose. Just then they spot Sko, who says it's so hot today. After that she feeds Duck and says I know what's Amelia's plan, selling Predator drones to Country A. She is indirectly setting up a scenario where Country B will also acquire them under pressure, profiting her. Coco says that's an interesting plan. She goes closer and says you'll help me, gifting diamond. She looks at it and Coco says keep eye on people I want. Next, in car, she says it's time to sell. They're going to hotel. A man welcomes them. Then as lift opens, she's shocked as man says sorry. She get to know Amelia took her deal. In another hotel, man apologizes Coco for canceling deal. She pretends chill. In third place, she don't get deal, man say we finalized deal with Amelia. In next place, man tells Coco we're buying from Amelia. Coco spots Amelia waving after finalizing deal before her. Now they all watch Coco as they say she got tough competitor, she couldn't handle losing all deals. She says one place is left, she sits in and they leave. Now she talks with Lieutenant, who says I fear dealing with you. A newspaper exposed your import scheme. Amelia knows your worthy rival, so she's moving fast. While in car, Amelia says news about Coco is a rumor. Her assistant says we can share rumors with other newspaper too. Coco stands on a beach thinking. Jonah feeds Duck. Other asks what's your plan, princess? Jonah asks what's next. She says I know how to deal with that woman because I am very good at it. Next we see their UAVs in a place. R says it's okay to leave Coco with 3 people only. Waham says you guys go make the deal, we'll see here, and puts bag in, while Amen is keeping eye on them. Coco is working in hotel room from 2 days. Valmet watches her eating the chips. She says you will get fat if you keep eating the chips whole day. Coco says then my chest will gain fat like yours. While Amelia's people are keeping watch on Coco's mails and every message or call she receives. Back to hotel, Valmet hears Coco calling Sko, saying I'll back off. Men gets happy. She says Miss Amelia is winning all deals, while Amelia listen this as her assistant is also monitoring call. Coco says I lost the game this time. She smiles and tells her man I'm glad I did quit acting, realizing real world thrives on deception. Coco's past 3 days of calls were mere acts, which Coco confirms to Valmet, shocking her too. While Sko gets mail from Coco, she says I gotta work, it feels like a puppet now. Back to Amelia, she says we couldn't figure out why that woman met Coco. I know Coco is planning something, but I'll not let her break my web I've woven. While let's enter in room asking how is your work going on, princess? She says I've found a way to deal with that woman. Let's wonders how. While news airing about US tankers, we see a nice hotel and man is praising Amelia for her work against Coco. Just then he gets information. He gets up saying opponent bought UAV from America. Amelia realizes Coco started her game. General says I'm sorry, I'll take down deal and meet Coco. While Sko stretches herself after doing doing Coco's work. Now Amelia walks out of hotel. Her guard tells Spain also bought UAVs. Another general appears saying I need to finalize deal with Coco. Others are buying UAVs too. Amelia realizes Coco is not only tearing her web, going for kill too. She immediately calls Coco and asks to meet her. Coco comes to meet. Amelia says thanks for coming. Coco says first I want to ask, are you armed? Should I be worried about snipers? She says no snipers, only my manager with a gun. Coco says well I am again asking if there are snipers. Lutz is ready to fire saying they got snipers, a man keeping eye and 2 snipers. Laham says I will fire if something bad happens. Now Coco gets serious as Amelia says I saw through all your deception and figured out well I'm an actor myself, so you have figured out too I have sniper here. Coco says I'm not a good actor but I'm best arms dealer. Amelia says this fun, I'm liking you Coco Hekmatyar. It was good fight, you're worthy opponent, I enjoyed it. But you know today's enemy can be a friend tomorrow. Coco wonder what this woman up to. She walks towards her and says do some favor to us. Coco asks what Amelia wants now. She says leave some deals for me. While snipers are keeping watch, a woman is conversing with them holding weapon. Valmet appears and point a knife. Coco gives signal and her snipers starts firing as they have already stopped Amelia's snipers. They're in port area. Coco says I already asked if you're armed. Amelia is scared. Laham checks snipers whom they injured beforehand. Lutz says my shot was perfect. Now a car arrives there for Coco and she walks away. She sits inside saying your people are alive, don't worry. Amelia feels relieved as she hears. Valmet asks why you were soft with her. Coco says I don't know, maybe because she find me as fun, and they drives back home. Next day Wiley calls Jonah and throws away him in water at beach. Another says Jonah boy, are you enjoying water? Valmet says Coco water is lovely and she says oh. Now they throw the Jonah again, who enjoys the scene from top as he goes down. Others watches Valmet basking under the sun. Lutz says she's hot chick everyone wants, let's try. They both swims towards her but then Tojo's shocked. He says R is ahead of us as he's trying to riz Valmet. Lutz says I wonder how SH is gonna react. R starts giving massage to her and touches her. They get shocked. Valmet kicks him so hard that he goes away flying inside the water. Laham says he gets served well. Tojo says he got tossed very badly. Lutz say oh god. Meanwhile Jonah is just floating lost in thoughts. Coco appears saying you've come too far Jonah and starts swimming. Her body floats in water. She says if something happened to you what I'll do. She continues you belong to me Jonah, right? During the evening time, Mao is teaching Jonah and says I miss my kids. He asks family. Mao says yeah they look like me see. Jonah is amazed to see and says they look like your beautiful wife. Mao falls shockingly. He then says yes she is. While Laham sneezes on Tojo, Jonah now thinks something. He then asks what about Laham, is he married too? Mao says nah but he's in love with Chiquita. They both worked for Coco's dad earlier. Jonah then asks what kind of soldier you are. He says I was normal soldier but my comrades died during training and I got discharged, I didn't know what to do. So one day Coco came to me and I joined her team. Life got better, 3 times better than military life. Once she asked if I told my kids about my new job. I said no and Coco says it's fine and walks to others. These people are doing dangerous job just like me. Telling my kids will only worry them. Just then phone rings. It's Coco who asks to meet. It's night now and Coco says it's time for air delivery. Laham tells others it won't be easy. It's always mess during air deliveries. This enrages her. She says trust me it'll go smooth. Now we see plane and some people in waiting area. Coco gets to know they've to ship these NGO people. She cries out what kind of work's this? She walks towards them and says I'll carry you but you'll be treated as cargo not passengers. A woman says we're used to it. Leader thanks her then says everyone get ready. R says they don't seem from NGO but people like us. Coco says get up lazy asses and board damn plane. They're ready to fly. Plane starts and takes off into sky. Jonah is looking outside when woman asks his name. He says I'm Jonah and she says my name is Maggie. Just then Coco calls Jonah asking him to come in cockpit. He says okay. He gets up and walks towards her. Maggie says he's such a cute kid and Tojo says yeah. Jonah looks for her. She says here. Now he looks outside from there and is amazed. Coco smiles as he says wow. So this is what the world looks like. Now we see destroyed buildings. Plane is heading to this area X. Leader tells everyone that this area has always been a conflict zone controlled by military due to which people lost their families and loved ones. It is controlled by a powerful group named Dragon under a man Daragan Nikolaevich. So be careful when we land there, the area is really very dangerous. He says so everyone, are you ready to face any kind of problem occur there? And they seem determined. He says alright. Lutz says leader's impressive. Valmet says join them. Maggie's listening them when Jonah ask her, can you come here? She goes there. He gives her plastic sheeting saying, hide under it, soldier won't find you all. Plane is about to land soon in X area. Now the plane land and General thanks Coco for delivery. She says we'll finish paperwork and head back. Mao says, Coco, this weapon is really awesome. She says we'll leave this area soon. Just then a man come out of car. He says, I'm Dragon. Coco greets, it's pleasure to meet you. He then says, I know you brought the group of doctors, preparing the weapons to fire. Coco says, I don't know what you are talking about. I'm here for the shipment and now we'll leave. He says, don't act smart, show the cargo. Coco says, it's none of your business. He says, this woman pisses me. He goes to General and smacks him saying, tell her to show the cargo. Coco said, this is a mess, everyone stay alert, and they all put the receiver. A truck arrives, some men of Dragon comes out. As he's with them, Coco asks about Dragon and General says he has control of this area, I can't do much. Just then Dragon's army stands again Coco's force. Coco says, so you wanna play dirty? Dragon says, we'll record whatever you have to say. Leader gets up to go out to deal. He says Coco will be in problem. I'll go out and talk with Dragon. Well, let's warn him not to go out. Coco gets info that leader's coming. He comes and says, I want to talk, but gets shot by Dragon and it's being recorded. He says, you save people we hurt. Leader says, I'm doctor, I'll save, and gets shot. Jonah gets ready with weapon as Dragon says, you piece of shit, and about to fire. Laham stops him, saying stop it. He then kicks one of his soldiers, making him fall. He is on ground and others are scared of Laham. He is so powerful. Coco instructs everyone to finish the Dragon group. Firing starts taking place among them. It's all messy. Coco's team keeps firing on Dragon's men. Before these men could fire, they're being taken down. Jonah is focused in firing at his targets and coldly takes them down. Valmet professionally fires at them. Now fires too. Doctors are scared as men fires at plane as well. Dragon hides behind the car. General instructs soldiers to hide and says to Coco, stop the firing, but she just watches. Laham keeps firing, standing besides her. General is pissed. Just then Dragon takes weapon and tries to fire, but Jonah stops him and he falls down on ground. Now they fire at their truck, taking down the men. Other men jumps out, but Valmet fires at them before they could escape. A man fires, but she takes him down instantly. She then fires at others. Doctor looks at Dragon, who's hurt. He take him inside car, but Jonah is ready to fire. He looks back at Jonah, but Coco says don't follow him. He tries to start car and runs away, taking the doctor. A man is taken down by Tojo. Valmet reports, I'm done, while others are also done. Coco says, alright, time to go back. Coco calls back Jonah too. Everything is recorded. Jonah spots the camera, he walks toward it and destroys it. After fight stops, they all are standing and there are so many casualties. Coco says to General, now we will leave from here, as there are many casualties and lot of mess, while others talk about how we can get out of here. Jonah looks at her and remembers he couldn't shoot. He asks and she says that loser didn't deserve clean death by your hand anyways. For now we've to figure out how to leave from this country. Everyone is giving their own ideas how they'll leave. Lutz says you all are giving idiot ideas. Coco says, boys, let's keep the ideas constructive. Mouse says, what about those cannons? We can use them as defense. Coco says, I like the idea, let's leave through plane. Now she says, everyone get ready to fly. Pilots take their seats to start the plane. Mao takes the cannon to load them inside the plane. Coco walks inside the plane and tells Maggie that you might have to face some turbulence, take this helmet you'll need during flight. While Doctor says you're immature. As Dragon talks with his soldiers, he says your mouth is running too much. Now his men comes out of truck with all the weapons, and they all prepare to take down Coco's plane. The cannon is loaded to fire at them. Some men are keeping eye on Coco's plane, saying they haven't taken off yet, his plane is still on ground. Now Coco instructs pilots to take off the plane. As they fly high into the sky, they shoot a missile at them which goes towards the plane and about to blast at it, but before that, they speed up and it get destroyed in the sky, and everyone feels the heavy turbulence inside plane. Then firing starts taking place where they're shooting on the plane from the ground, but somehow they manage to save themselves. But now they fire bigger missiles. Pilots say this is missile alert. Coco cries fire now, and they fire back to counter missiles. More missiles keep coming, so they speed up to escape and missiles blast into the sky, and this time turbulence is even more heavier. A man says reload again as they see they escaped from missiles. Coco says don't let them attack again, and Mao prepares the cannon to fire back at them. He tells everyone to close ears, we gonna fire, and pulling down trigger he fires at them. Missile get dropped from the plane and reaching down it blasts. Now as plane fly Mao check and says enemy is gone. Scene shifts to London City. Scarecrow gets the call from Coco. She says I have found the dragon leader dragon. He is amazed as he says wait what you mean? Baldra with $5 million price reward on his head. She says I'll give you his location but you have to pay. He says what I'm not gonna pay for a criminal. She says okay you're foolish and cuts call. He says arms dealers are rude. Just then Sko gets offer from Coco and she agree in exchange of info. While they land in safe place, Maggie thanks Coco for saving them. Coco says we still have to save the chief doctor. I promise you to bring him back. It's our duty to drop you in safe place. Maggie says thanks. Coco talks with HQ to track the location of Dragon and they're able to see his location in laptop. After hanging up the call, she tells Laham it's time to go hunting and he says okay. He then instructs Mao and Wiley to get ready with the weapons. Coco then says if a man kills enough, he becomes a dragon. Terrible beasts consumed by greed and violence. Losing their humanity, humans cannot allow dragons to exist. Slaying one is the highest honor. You went too far, dragon leader dragon. Meanwhile, Scarecrow is talking with his men whom he has sent to find the dragon. Meanwhile, Coco's team is in ambush as there, waiting for Dragon. They keep an eye on area when his car appears. There, Laham instructs everyone it's time, Dragon is here. They triggers the bomb and a massive blast happens. Dragon's driver somehow escapes the blast. Coco's team starts firing on enemy, taking them down. Dragon then says what are these iron darts? As he looks at them, his driver gets shot. Doctor looks outside, it's Laham who says you're safe, we're going back. Coco tells everyone and they get happy. Maggie thanks Coco for saving the doctor too, and tear falls from her eyes. She says maybe you're a dragon too, you hold so much power. And Coco starts laughing. Maggie says I mean not in a bad way like Baldra. You helped us. Coco says me a dragon, I like your compliment. Jonah asks all done, she says yeah and gets called. It's Scarecrow who says just give me the damn location, I'll pay now. She says okay and Tojo shares location which Sko receives. They send their helicopter to Dragon's location. Sko says we found him. As he cries for terrible condition, helicopter arrives. Meanwhile, doctors waves Coco and others. In plane, Coco asks what Dragon sounds like. Jonah says roar and they fly away. In next scene, everyone is looking at details about next dealing. Coco is explaining the plan to them, how they'll deal, but Valmet is lost somewhere in her own thoughts. While Coco says everyone understood the plan, she then looks at Valen, startling her. She says I'm sorry for zoning out. Coco says your mind seems to be thousands mile away. Next we see the military area. Valmet is standing working with all the comrades. Next day they all get taken down by a man one by one in an instant. Valmet keeps firing to stop him. He comes to attack, making her lose one of her eye. Then he finishes off everyone and looks back at her. Similarly, Karen had same gaze, making her shocked. In present, she wakes up remembering the incident. In the past, after losing her comrades, she was sitting when Coco comes to meet her. Coco looks at her and Valmet wonders who is this. She then asks, do you want anything, young girl? Coco says, I know you've lost your comrades in war. Valmet says, you're here to remind I couldn't save them. Coco says, no, I mean you're left with only two options. There are two keys, one will take back you home and you'll have to marry a man. This hurts her more. She then asks her what about the second key. She says key to world, come with me, which she likes. In present, Valmet says goodbye to sleeping Coco. Next, in a building, some guys are finishing off their targets and a girl with them seems to enjoy her work. After doing so, she comes out saying I finished them. George says let's go while Dominique finishes last one. Now as they're driving for their another assignment to finish target, Lily says this our last work, then we'll open restaurant. George says well you'll handle receptionist work then. Now they drive towards next target. Next we see a bus and Valmet gets off the bus. She starts walking looking at the map but stops. As Jonah is there, she says you followed me here. Meanwhile, Coco says we have important deal today. Don't slack off, I'll not tolerate this. Laham says you already knew this day would come. Valmet ran off. Others tells Jonah is also missing. She loses her patience and getting mad about this. She shouts at everyone go prepare for leaving now. While in building, Valmet says Jonah go back to Coco and others, she needs you most. Jonah refuses her. She punches him saying go back. But then Jonah starts saying I'm here for Coco. You want revenge on those people who killed your comrades, that's why you're here. I know that you went to meet Sko to get intel about those people. She's shocked how he knows this. He then says remember we're team, you can't leave us. She sighs and then looks at him. Holding his face, she says I can't come back, I've work. While in a truck, these three are talking about their next targets. It's Coco and her team and everyone in team's pretty strong. Lily sees profile of Hugo and says this one is monster. George reads Hugo is ex-mafia then keeps profile aside. Now near oil refinery, Karen asks Chan for second chance to restore her honor after getting in fight with Valmet which led to her defeat. She thinks they got defeated 2 times time by the Coco's team first, then by Valmet. Chan tells her to call it her duty, and it was directed by military commission to let her go. In his times when Chan used to fought, nobody could stand before him, he was strongest. She holds him and begs to let her stay besides him, but Lee pushes her away, causing her to fall in mud. He says, "You have no work here, leave." She says, "I was your superior, learn to behave, Lee." She gets up and says, "I'll take my leave," saluting him. Meanwhile, Coco talks with Sko in a restaurant to know about Chan. In Africa, Valmet lost her eye because of Chan's attack. He isn't that old as he looks and is really powerful man with unique art of using weapons who wiped out Valmet's squad back in Africa. Now he's working as a lead in Taishan High Company with goal of extending Chinese political influence. Scarecrow was shocked to find nothing untoward against that guy. Coco says, "Really, you're not hiding anything from me. There is something you know, right?" Sko changes topic, saying in last meeting with Valmet, she was smiling. Meanwhile, Valmet is talking as they head somewhere. Driver warns them that here is a Chinese base in Africa where even locals avoid to go. It is a dangerous area, so be careful as he drives. At night, Coco is making arm delivery. She asks to other teams show cash. He says first keys. She says here they wants to give drugs instead of money in exchange. She blows away one packet, saying, "I only accept cash." Then she suddenly fires at their boss. Both parties take out weapons and starts firing at each other. Wiley protects Coco while others fight. George is keeping eye on them as he says Coco's team is really strong. He is watching from far and says, "Now is our turn," informing others in call to come. Lily says now it's time to have fun, and then laughs as she prepares. Back to area as they are cleaning. Coco says it's really bad, our deal didn't go well. Leham says sometime things happen. Other talks, boss lady was bit brutal. Lot says she is always brutal and these idiots deserve this treatment since they decided to screw with us. While Coco talks with Leham about Valmet's unusual behavior recently. He says she was always acting weird since start. She says Valmet is like a sister, so I sent Jonah for her. At nighttime in her apartment, Coco drinks and takes off her clothes. She opens her shirt to take shower. Others are checking new weapons. When someone cuts the electricity, Lutz says this never happens. Coco also wonders. Just then Lily comes running there. Her comrades are waiting outside. She runs towards Lutz to attack him and then jumps. An attack at his back. She then pulls back as Lutz is literally pissed off. He pulls down Tojo as she fires at him and saves him. Tojo now starts firing, but she keeps dodging back. Lutz calls for others to help and Coco tries to contact Leham, who's injured already by enemy. One of them is about to finish off Wiley, who's scared. Now we see broken glass and everyone is holding weapons. Coco says, "Well, we have to close deal. All men are dead except one Hugo, whom she asks when your boss was dealing why you turned your head away seeing the drugs inside suitcase." She says this thing intrigued me. He's scared, then says I'll leave it to your imagination, and she smiles. Back at present, Coco calls Hugo, who is about to get finished off by enemy. Leham sees this and goes to attack from the back. He starts firing but sees Jacket and makes man mad. Hugo stands and grab man's head, then punch him towards the wall. Coco is shocked. He then starts beating him while Leham says let's go. Coco feels someone is behind door. It's Lily waiting for them to come out. Coco opens the door, making her fall. As she sees back, Coco comes and punches her hard, making her fall. She then says let's go. Outside, George is ready with gun, and as he sees them he starts following. Coco says he's coming. Hugo says be careful, princess. She holds her weapons and start firing at him. George says damn, this was so close, this chick is really good at shot. This happens when you target arms dealer. Now as he chases them, Coco gets ready for another shot. Hugo flips car towards him trying to stop his car. They clashes. Hugo takes out his weapon saying it's time to kill. George says so he really is monster and fires. Hugo also fires and they start firing at each other. His car caught fire and crashes. Now his car is destroyed. He says I'll call others, but Coco appears. As he calls his members, Lily says boss, we are captured by enemies, sorry. He listens her thinking we are done for right. She says our restaurant will stay a dream now. Coco walks toward him saying you're at end of road. He looks at her as she says I will leave you, but tell me who hired you. Next we see food. Valmet is apologizing for mixing sleep pills in it as Jonah is lying unconscious, and then she kisses him. After some time he wakes up and his head hurts. He looks at time wondering how far she might have gone. He then starts preparing his weapon to go chase her, while Valmet reaches there and then goes to attack, taking them down. Chan is working. He tells Lee to check out what's wrong. Lee walks out and tells everyone to find intruder fast, while Valmet keeps running and taking out every guard standing there. As she runs forward, a sniper is informed about it. He prepares weapons weapon and ask about further details. Valmet keeps running as men keeps firing at her. She takes down another man in an instant. Now she climbs at top and jumps to take down other. One she attack from back and moves. Sniper is waiting for her to come in his range as she runs forward and comes in range. He fires and it misses, but it was so close. She freezes there for a moment. His bullet falls down. Just as he looks at her, he got shot by the Jonah and he falls down on ground. Jonah cries out, "Valmet, I bought this weapon, it'll help." She get hopeful, while Chan is sitting unbothered saying let her come. Now she erases every enemy coming in her path and thinks of taking down the man who erased his team. Seeing the door, she looks at it and then moves to kick it and enters. She says, "Finally I have found you." Chan says, well, I remember you, Major Valmet, but you must know who you're challenging here. General of Pla who erased your team, know your place. But I couldn't find you that day. Let me guess, one of your men fall on you and you lay down under his corpse. She remembers her men getting erased in front of her. She says, "You took away everything from me, so today I'll take revenge of my comrades." He says, "Don't get cocky and get ready for fight," as he holds his weapons. Valmet moves to attack and they fight. While Karen gets up from sleep, she says, "I should meet General," and leaves. Reaching there, she sees some men and goes to ask. She gets shocked and runs inside to find Kane is dead on his chair. She cries and decides to take revenge of his death. Now Valmet is walking away. Jonah is tired and falls. She says, "You need sleep," and Jonah says, "Yeah." Just then a car arrives. Karen comes out and fires. Valmet is scared and protects Jonah. Karen walks toward them and keeps firing at Valmet. She holds Jonah as Karen won't stop. She then cries, "This world is f***." Just then she get a shot by Jonah and falls down. Next, Valmet open her eyes and sees Coco there. Her back hurts and Coco says, "Don't move. You got so many shots, but Jonah patched you up and saved you. You might want to thanks him. Be careful, Valmet, or it won't be good because I'm still pissed off." She then says, "Woman besides your bed." Karen vanished when she woke up. "Now I'll have to pay her hospital bills as well, but I will deal, and you according to me did very well, Valmet. The souls of your comrades will rest in peace. You have my admiration." Valmet kisses her for that and Coco says it's sweet. She gets up and says, "Recover soon," then wear her cap and says, "See ya," and leaves. Now Valmet looks outside. Next, Coco is with Jonah, who's happy. She says, "First time seeing you smile." She then says, "Let's eat something good." She then hugs him and says, "Let's go to that restaurant," while Valmet's exercise bothers Nurse. With this, our story ends. If you want the next part of the video, please give 1 million likes and subscribe. Share your views in the comment box. I will be reading all of your comments. You guys are the best.